99X. It's the Morning X with Barnes and Leslie. Leslie, can I tell you a little story?
Please do.
Once upon a time in a land shrouded in fog, rain, and intermittent bouts of sunshine, Wimbledon was born.
Wimbledon, yes.
In the primordial haze of 1877, while Queen Victoria was likely sipping on afternoon tea, she looked over and saw one young lad, Lucas Jensenonia, who later became Luke Jensen, went on to win the French Open in 1993 and stands now right next to center court. Good morning, Luke.
The Morning X is back.
Luke Jensen.
Luke.
Morning X OG. How are you, man?
Wow.
I'm living the dream. And Kate Middleton is here today at Wimbledon.
Ooh.
Oh.
You're picking up just like you were on the show last week. You haven't been on the show in 20 years.
Oh, man. Listen, I'm living the dream. Think about this. You're way before SpaceX. You're way before X-Men. Like, you need to get some money from those guys.
Oh, yeah. Let's get
thanks,
paid.
Luke Jensen. We appreciate that. It's so cool to hear your voice again.
Oh, I know, Leslie. Oh, it's so cool.
Hey, thank you for putting your strawberries and cream down for a second to talk to us from center court.
Yep.
I want to get the Wimbledon vibe. I know yesterday was a big day, right? It was a big center court hoo-ha.
Yeah, so there's this guy, Roger Federer. I don't know, I think, Barnes, you beat him and Sampras. I know you aced Sampras.
Yeah, true story.
But Sampras won 7 Wimbledons, and this guy, Federer, won 8 Wimbledon titles, 20 major singles titles alone, and he was honored yesterday. He has retired, and so he came with he and Kate Middleton came out to wave to the fans on center court, and it was just a really cool event. Wimbledon just does it right. Aren't you been here?
Yeah.
And it's like Augusta, right? It's like what they do at the Masters in golf. They do everything just right, and the fans, and they hadn't seen him in a while, so it's great to see Roger back.
Hey, Leslie, one of my all-time favorite memories of like top 5 experiences I've ever done was Luke took me as his air quote coach to Wimbledon.
Wow.
20 years ago, and I had access to every match, every court. I ate lunch with all the players. And
That's an amazing experience.
Money couldn't buy that. So I thank you every time I see you. I try to buy you a Brax Bowl just because I want you to feel the love. But Luke, seriously.
Well, I thought you teaching Andre Agassi your big serve, not the Tinky Winky, the big boy, right?
Yeah.
The big longhorn monster.
Right. Luke, all seriousness, congratulations on making the cut. I know it's been a very dark week at ESPN, and you are still working with them, and that's why you're at Wimbledon, I know. So I'm glad you dodged that, but I'm sorry for the people that were cut out.
Yeah, no, don't want that to happen to anybody, right?
No.
But, listen, you've got to adapt. You've got to continue, and, Disney's taken it on the chin recently. They lost over $1 billion, so unfortunately, Disney owns us, and, they're lifers here, and we know a lot of them, and they're moving on.
It's so great to have our own correspondent at Wimbledon, Luke Jensen. Luke, I read this story about, increase in security after a series of protests at sports events in Britain. What is the security like now?
So I've been here at Wimbledon since '84, and I was a junior, and then played in the men's stuff, and then Legends and all that stuff, and now in media for ESPN. I've never seen it so tight. Every day you come in, and it is every pocket in your bag that you come in. And I know these security guys. I've been doing it for years. Same security company, and it's this activist group called Stop the Oil. And what they do is they take yellow orangish paint, and they run out on the pitch at soccer games or concerts. They glue themselves to paintings and things like that. Well, the threat is they last couple of years they're outside the gates just making noise. But now the threat is they'll get on a big court, and you start throwing that paint on these grass courts, and they'll stain. And you're talking center court Wimbledon celebrated 100 years of existence last year. And it's a tournament in a club that's been around, like Barnes said, since 1877. So it is, it's really, I've never seen it to a point where every little article that you're bringing in is being scrutinized.
Man, we are definitely all watching. I mean, I know I laid around and watched a lot the last couple of days. Are my calculations correct, Luke Jensen, Morning X correspondent from Center Court at Wimbledon, that this is the 30th anniversary of you winning the French Open with Murphy?
You know, no dates. I was pretty sure, Barnes, we weren't going to talk about dates, right? We're not going to talk about hair. We're not going to talk about weight. We're just going to talk about the good old days of you acing me. And, yeah. But how is it that, I mean, every Alta person listening right now who thinks they're hot stuff, how can a dude 30 years removed from winning the French Open still kick that ass like it was nothing? What is that difference in a professional athlete in a sport and then a regular human? Why is it that you or whoever, even after retiring, can still just smoke people? Advil. I have to admit, you know, one of my sponsors is Advil. Yes, for seniors. It's, you know, here's the thing. Venus Williams played here. You know, so I'm 57. And, you know, like you said, you know, won a major 30 years ago. She's 43.
She looked it, though. She was awful.
But here's the thing. She came in and she had to play someone who was really good. It was a tough little draw, but she won a match a couple of weeks ago at a warm-up tournament. She still serves like in the 120s. She's still, I'm telling you, if she could physically do it at 43, it's amazing. Yeah, it was a tough one. She was up 2-0 when she hurt her knee. Yeah. Hyperextended her knee. So, I mean, she loves to play, and most athletes of that caliber, if they can't win majors, they retire. She still wants to play.
Luke, what is a typical day like for you at Wimbledon? Like, walk us through your day.
Yeah, I mean, we're blessed. I mean, to be able to be at this wonderful tournament. They treat you so well, and ESPN just does it right. So we have the American rights to Wimbledon, and we just signed a deal that goes through 2035. And they basically have an entire wing dedicated for all the studio time and things for ESPN here at Wimbledon.
Wow.
So it's an honor to be here and work for, you know, ESPN in this capacity. So you get up at like 5:30 in the morning and you start doing all the homework, because sometimes the matches that didn't finish the night before, and you get all the updates of all the press conferences from the players that have played the day before or that are coming up to play. So all those notes, injuries and things like that. So as soon as you get ready to go, you get right to the courts. We basically stay at a place around the club. So you just walk down and you start going to the practice courts, into the players' lounges, the locker rooms, wherever your access is, and start talking to coaches and players and, you know, the matches that you're going to cover. So that starts early in the morning, and then the first match starts at 11. We start doing basically taping segments at about 10 o'clock. And my job in the studio, I'm a studio analyst now, so I cover about 4 or 5 different courts, specifically the TV courts, and then all the other courts that have television. So if there's a great shot, if there's a big upset, we're on it. So you have to know all the coaches,
so cool,
and all the agents and things like that. Yeah, so that just gets you basically through the early afternoon, and then you just kind of watch all the matches kind of, you know, finish, and you see all the drama that takes place. And then you have these special days. Kate Middleton shows up. Roger Federer shows up. And so you have all these neat storylines, and then you do interviews through the day. It's like a Morning X.
Exactly.
Right?
That's a lot of work. Well,
yeah.
Luke, we're running out of time. Yeah. What's the biggest narrative we should be watching while we all watch Wimbledon in the next week and a half?
So Novak Djokovic really is the story. I mean, there's some amazing players and young players, but it's still the old guard. Djokovic now has 23 singles majors. Wow. That ties him with Serena Williams. And so if he wins here, that goes to 24, and he's won 7 Wimbledon titles. If he wins here, he hasn't lost at Wimbledon in 5 years, and that was on court 1. He hasn't lost in center court Wimbledon in 10 years.
Wow!
So this guy is the most dominant player ever to kind of lace him up for tennis. And if he does win here, he ties Roger Federer for 8 Wimbledon singles titles.
All right, we're watching you. Luke Jensen on ESPN. To end the segment, let's go old school. Give me one big fire up.
Fire up, Morning X!
The Morning X with Barnes and Leslie. 99.
Stacking Benjamins with Joe and his good friend OG not only has great financial insight, it's laid back with humor too.
Mr. Len Penzo's here. Now when I buy something, I'm like, can actually spend any time with this thing. Len, I would imagine you've got to think about that too when you're buying stuff.
You know, before I was retired, if I wanted something, I bought it. I don't care what it was. The Kings were in the Stanley Cup Finals, and me and the Honeybee, I mean, we didn't even think about it. $3,600 on 2 tickets. Now that I'm retired, those days are gone.
The Stacking Benjamin Show, available on YouTube or wherever you listen.